Right. What if one study, just one study, in a split of a second, could turn heads, raise eyebrows, spark a national debate, and actually get the government into an inquiry of women's health? In Kenya, it did exactly that. Now, you might be wondering how. So let me take you through a journey using communication as a bridge from evidence to action. In 2022, the African Population and Health Research Center, in collaboration with the Guttmacher Institute and the Ministry of Health in Kenya, set out on a bold mission. This mission was to answer just one question that had been lingering for far too long. See, the last study that was conducted on abortion in Kenya was in 2012, and 10 years down the line, we asked this question: what is the state of abortion in Kenya? Fast forward to May this year, the results were out. They were shocking. May 2nd, 2025, days and months that followed, this study went viral. Newspaper headlines screamed, "Did you know that?" Researchers' faces were filled on TV stations, on TV screens, radio debates got heated, and social media was buzzing. And you know, as the communications guy in the team, my phone didn't catch a break. But let me take you back to 3 months before the release of these findings. My name is Doris Omao, an Advocacy and Communications Officer for the African Population and Health Research Center. And here is the story of how a communication strategy that made this study impossible to ignore. So we set out before the launch to prepare and position ourselves on how to bring out this study. So first, we mapped out our audiences. We definitely asked ourselves, the first question we asked ourselves, who would want to hear these findings? Who would they fit? Who would move them to act? Then, secondly, we asked ourselves, how do we make the data speak? And here, we moved into packaging of the results and the recommendations, translating complex research into chewable chunks that would be able to be understood by those who may not understand the research language, and those to mean the policymakers and ultimately the public. So this helped us to develop, we developed 3 policy briefs, and we were able to come up with a fact sheet that summarized the study, and of course, showcased the killer facts. Secondly, we thought to ourselves, who would be the best person to share our study out there? And of course, being the media, were they ready? And in asking ourselves that question, we didn't wait for them to get the hang of this story and to reach out to us. We didn't wait for the journalists to come to us. We equipped them with the facts, the talking points, the context, so they could report accurately and sensitively. And how we did this is that we convened a 2-day sensitization meeting for the journalists. We brought them together with our partner, the Trust for Indigenous Culture and Health. We brought the journalists together, we took them out of town, we sensitized them on this study, and we were able to come to an understanding on how to report on this sensitive issue that is abortion. Thirdly, we went ahead to look at our partners. We brought in our partners, leveraged on their experiences, their communication experiences in the sexual reproductive health. They were able to help us build on our communications strategy. Because we knew that data alone can't move hearts, we produced a documentary to showcase the lived experiences, to give the numbers a human feel. And then straight to the launch. big day. We made sure we had the correct audience in the room. We carefully curated that audience, policymakers, we had the health practitioners, our partners, and of course, the media. And this is because we didn't just want a launch. We wanted to have a conversation that could spark change. At 1 p.m., we released the findings in a swirl of a dummy report with all the confetti and the pyrolite. Immediately, the nation was talking. Headlines were everywhere. Debates were raging on radio. Social media was on fire. But we didn't stop there. We continued engaging journalists by making our researchers available to share more information on our study. The dialogue spread. The conversations grew so intense that the Kenyan Senate took notice. And within days, the Senate Health Committee had announced a public inquiry to investigate the rising cases of abortion in the country and to examine the effectiveness of contraceptive methods that truly showed the power of research communication. I don't want to leave you in the dark. I want to play a short video to show the power of storytelling, the power of lived experiences, and the power of speaking from the voice of the person who has been affected.
Niko na 24 years old na niko na mtoto mmoja. Nilikuwa naishi na bibi dadi wangu. So nikishashika mimba kitu January akanidanganya tu mimba ikafika hadi 4 months. Akaanza madharau akanifukuza. Nikaenda kwa daktari wetu mwingine hapo kujuu, kuna chemist. Nika bleed like normal. Kumbe ilikuwa imetoka. Akanilalisha kwa kitanda, ikabidi aivute na ile syringe. So venye alivuta nikaona damu. Tangu nianze kubleed like sasa ni karibu mwezi 2. Naumwa na mgongo, nalalanga tu hapa kwa nyumba the whole day. Hata saa zingine mtoto wangu simpelekangi shule. Nikaenda CDC, nilipata daktari msichana na akaniambia hiyo nilirisk na hiyo kubleed maybe akinivuta aliinterfere na huku ndani yangu. So huo dem pia akaniambia nende hiyo scanning wajue hiyo shida iko wapi. So mimi sijaienda hiyo scanning juu pia ni pesa.
There's need to work with the Minister of Health and legislators to revise or reform the law around abortion. Despite the law being as it is not limiting the number of abortions. So there's need to streamline and reform the law to allow for, reduce the harm that abortion causes to women.
Right, so to wrap up, I'd like to leave you with this. Do not allow your research to gather dust on those beautiful shelves in your office. Tell your story, share your findings, communicate your research. And not just as it is, but with strategy, because communication is the engine that moves research from data to dialogue to decision-making. Thank you. And if you'd like to find our work and read the full reports, please scan the codes. Thank you.